The Super Bowl is now behind us, and it was a result that no one could have seen coming. On the cusp of making history as the first team in the Super Bowl era to ever win 3 straight titles, the Kansas City Chiefs fell flat in the finish line and were completely throttled by the Philadelphia Eagles, falling by a final score of 40-23. And this final score honestly did the Chiefs justice, scoring 16 of their 22 points in the fourth quarter while the game was entirely out of reach. Today we are going to break down each team's path to the Super Bowl and answer the question of how the Eagles were able to dismantle the back-to-back champs and project that either team will be back to the big game in 2025. The Eagles came into the 2024 season off the back of a disappointing 2023 campaign in which they were stunned in the wildcard round by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. However, they made some big moves in the offseason, most notably signing Saquon Barkley, an already elite talent who absolutely flourished and likely will continue to do so behind an incredible Philadelphia offensive line. There was a strong chance that Barkley finished the year with the league-leading 2,005 rushing yards, and there is a strong chance that he would have gone on to break Eric Dickerson's single-season rushing record of 2,105 yards if he had played in the final game of the regular season. The Eagles had a rather shaky start to the regular season, kicking off the year with a 2-2 record before heading into their Week 5 bye. But coming out of this bye week, they looked like a completely different team, and it appeared that a switch had been flipped. Philadelphia went on to win their next 10 games straight, picking up impressive wins over playoff-caliber teams like the Washington Commanders, Los Angeles Rams, and Baltimore Ravens. They only suffered one loss following their bye week before the regular season came to an end, falling to the Commanders in a contest that saw Kenny Pickett take over and spend majority of the game as the team's starting quarterback after Jalen Hurts went down with a concussion. Even with this loss, the Eagles were red hot and looked like one of the most dangerous teams in the league, hitting their stride at exactly the right time. Philadelphia kicked off their playoff run with the wild card round matchup against the Green Bay Packers. They stayed in complete control through the entirety of the game and dominated the Packers on both sides of the ball. The Eagles schemed up a very balanced attack on offense in this matchup that they executed to perfection. Hurts threw for 131 yards and a pair of touchdowns while Barkley could not be stopped on the ground, rushing for 119 yards in the 22-10 win. In the divisional round, they took on the Los Angeles Rams. Philadelphia's pass defense was a bit lacking in this matchup, allowing Matthew Stafford to throw for 324 yards. However, once again, Barkley was able to put the Eagles' offense on his back, as he had plenty of times in his inaugural season with the team, finishing the matchup with 205 yards and 2 touchdowns. This was a game that came down to the wire, and the Rams had the ball in scoring position with just a minute left on the clock. While they struggled to slow down Stafford for most of the game, Philadelphia's defense was able to step up when they were needed most and forced a turnover on downs that secured a 28-22 win. In the NFC Championship, they took on a team they were very familiar with, playing the Commanders for the 3rd time this season. While Washington was able to get the best of them in their second meeting, the Eagles looked like a whole different team with Hurts under center. The ground game once again could not be stopped, with Hurts and Barkley combining for 134 yards and an insane 6 touchdowns on the ground. It did not take long for Philadelphia to take a commanding lead in this matchup, and once they got a stronghold on their opponent, they did not look back, punching their ticket to the Super Bowl in dominant fashion with a 55-23 win.
But I'd like to see it again for another year.
Got James again. First down at 10. Jones and the Giants looking for the end zone. He cuts it against the green.
Kansas City came into the 2024 season with a huge target on their back, ending their 2023 campaign with their 2nd straight title, this time taking down the San Francisco 49ers and the year prior defeating the Eagles. It was clear that the pressure of making history as the first team in the Super Bowl era to win 3 straight Super Bowls and being the team to beat once again did not affect them in the slightest. They kicked off the season with 9 straight wins, taking down 3 playoff caliber teams in the process in the Baltimore Ravens, Los Angeles Chargers, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. In Week 11, they were handed their first loss of the season in a relatively tight game against the Buffalo Bills. However, it was clear that the loss did not take them, as they took on a fairly strong gauntlet of teams through the remainder of the regular season, defeating the Chargers, Houston Texans, and Pittsburgh Steelers. While they dropped their final game of the regular season against the Denver Broncos in a 38-zip loss, Kansas City made the decision to rest their starters for this matchup, as they had already clinched the top seed in the AFC, and a Broncos loss would have allowed the Cincinnati Bengals to sneak into the postseason. With this being a team that had given the Chiefs troubles in the past, this made for a win-win. They ended the regular season with an elite 15-2 record. Despite their elite record and being the two-time defending champs, the Chiefs looked oddly human and somewhat beatable, with the majority of their wins coming down to the final minutes and ending as one-possession games. While they did not look nearly as elite as they had in previous years, Kansas City was able to turn up the heat in the postseason, as many expected they would. In the divisional round, they took on Houston Texans. This was a very banged-up team who were missing Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell from their receiving core, with a still banged-up Nico Collins serving as their primary pass catcher. This was a convincing win from the Chiefs, albeit not a very dominant one. They took care of business and advanced to the next round. A mantra of the season, taking this game by a final score of 23-14. This earned them a trip to the AFC Championship, where they took on the Buffalo Bills. This was a game in which many expected to come down to the wire, and fans were treated to an incredible game. Mahomes got the job done both through the air and on the ground in this matchup, throwing for 245 yards and a touchdown while rushing for an additional 43 yards and 2 scores. With nearly 3.5 minutes left in regulation, Harrison Butker was able to nail a 35-yard field goal, and that gave Kansas City a 32-29 lead. Their defense was able to hold on strong, and they got their revenge for the regular season loss, narrowly escaping with a win for a third straight AFC championship and the chance to make history in the Super Bowl.
Barrels ahead, lowers his head and takes off for the first down. P-Ryan makes the move.
Heading into the game, many expected the Chiefs to come out on top, as they had time and time again through their elite 2024 campaign, and they entered the matchup as 1-point favorites. But the Eagles were able to stun the world with a dominant first half. The game began with a bit of stalemate before Hurts got things going with a 1-yard tush-push touchdown a little over halfway through the quarter. In the second quarter, Philadelphia put their foot on the gas, starting the quarter off with a 48-yard field goal from Jake Elliott before Cooper DeJean scored on a 38-yard pick six just a minute and a half later. Hurts then connected with A.J. Brown for a 12-yard touchdown to cap off the first half. In seemingly a blink of an eye, the Eagles had completely run away with the game, just as they had in the round prior against the Commanders. On offense, the Chiefs had absolutely no answer for them, and Philadelphia defense had Kansas City in the bag, unable to get anything going through the air or on the ground, all culminating in a 24-0 lead as the teams entered the locker room. The beatdown continued in the second half, with the first quarter starting with another field goal from Elliott. This one was 29 yards out. Just 3 minutes after this, Hurts threw his second touchdown of the game, this time hitting Devontae Smith for a 46-yard score. With under a minute left in the third quarter, the Chiefs were finally able to get on the board with a 24-yard touchdown from Mahomes to Xavier Worthy. The fourth quarter began with the back-to-back field goals from Elliott from 48 and 50 yards respectively to push their lead to 40-6. The Chiefs were able to save face in the final 3 minutes of the game, with Mahomes throwing a 7-yard touchdown pass to DeAndre Hopkins before finding Worthy for another one, this one from 50 yards out. When the final whistle sounded, the Eagles had dethroned the Chiefs by a final score of 40-22. This raises the question of how were the Eagles able to completely dismantle the Chiefs like this? While it is undeniable that they had the more well-rounded roster, no team has been able to make Kansas City look this bad since the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the 2021 Super Bowl. Offensively, it was clear that the Chiefs were dead set on not being defeated by Barkley on the ground, and they did a great job of keeping him in check, allowing only 57 yards on the 25 carries. However, this allowed Hurts to have an elite game through the air, throwing for 221 yards and 2 touchdowns, while also rushing for 71 yards and another score, earning him the Super Bowl MVP. On defense, the Eagles knew that if they were able to cut the head off of the snake and keep Mahomes in check, the Chiefs had no hope of doing anything offensively, and for the most part, they executed this plan perfectly. While Mahomes' stat line looked better than he actually performed, throwing for 257 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 picks. 2 of these touchdowns came in garbage time, and Philadelphia truly forced the best quarterback in the league into arguably the worst game of his entire career. This was a dominant performance on both sides of the ball for the Eagles, and they made it abundantly clear that they were the best team in the world this season.
Second time, the Vince Lombardi Trophy is headed to Philadelphia. Eagles fly in Super Bowl 59.
This raises one final question. Will the Eagles or the Chiefs make it back to the Super Bowl in 2025? It appears as if the Eagles will be well equipped to do so. While anything can happen and one injury to the wrong player can completely kill a team's Super Bowl hopes, they proved this season that they are a team with extreme depth and nearly no weaknesses. If they are able to stay healthy and perform anywhere near as well as they did in 2024, it will be extremely difficult for any team to stop the Eagles. On the other hand, it will be a much tougher road to get back to the Super Bowl for the Chiefs. Currently, they are allocating 63% of their cap space to just 5 players next season. Those players being Mahomes at $66.3 million, Chris Jones at $34.9 million, Jawan Taylor at $27.4 million, Joe Thuney at $27 million, and finally Travis Kelce at $19.8 million. They will have to make some tough decisions this offseason or put together a historic draft class, or they will not have the depth necessary to make it through a gauntlet of AFC conference in the playoffs for a 4th straight season.
Way back there, throws as he gets hit. It's up there, and it is